Hey guys, we should be live right now. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. It says my microphone is working. So, welcome to the Job series. I'm super excited to be doing this series with you guys. This is going to be really fun because if you are fans of the True Christian Ministry podcast, what they do is they're going through books of the Bible. And one of the books that they're going through right now is the book of Job. But one thing that I noticed about the book of Job that I just loved was there's a lot of facts in there that are basically like scientific facts. So, a lot of the verses that I had found in there basically were really similar to modern day science. And I wrote a couple of books about that, which is super cool. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a series on the book of Job, but from a different angle. I'm going to be talking about the scientific facts in the book of Job. And then you guys can kind of see the book of Job in a different light that you may not get to see on the True Christian Ministry podcast, or if you were just reading the book of Job on your own. So today I thought it would be a really great opportunity to start the series. I'm going to try to get these episodes up on Saturdays pretty much, hopefully around noonish. I know it's not actually noon now, it's a little bit past noon, but it's totally fine. I'm super excited to be starting the series. If you see me looking over to like the right side of me, it's because I have two screens just to view comments if any comments come through. And then right here, I just have the Bible on my computer so I can read it. So we're just going to get started on the verses here. I'm going to probably start off with just maybe 15 minutes to 30 minutes. There's about 40 verses in this whole entire book that I want to get through. I think it's 41. And I'm going to be doing that. So it's going to take me a while, obviously. So I'm going to do a couple in each episode, see how many we can get through in maybe like 15-minute time. I don't want to like drag this on too long for you guys. So we're just going to get started. I'm just going to pray quickly before we begin because I think that would be really cool just to pray for, you guys to just be open to receiving what I'm going to be sharing here. So let's just say a quick prayer. So dear Lord, I just thank you for the ability to go live right now. This is super cool, even though nobody's really here yet. I think people will show up maybe towards the end, or they might just be watching the replay, and that's super cool. So I just thank you, Lord, for allowing me to be on my computer right now and to do this with decent internet, because, some people in the world don't unfortunately have great internet, but I'm very thankful to be able to do this for you guys. And Lord, I just thank you for the people who are going to be watching this, family members, friends, anybody out here. And I pray that in Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we're going to get started. So I'm going to start off with the first verse. So all these are going to be different fields of science. It's not going to be the exact same field of science each time I do it because, of course, it's all different fields. So I'm not going to be going through like astronomy all in one go or marine biology in one go. I'm going to be doing them all randomized because really all the verses are random. They're not all in the same way. I was thinking about doing it in another way where it was like, oh, I'm going to do all the astronomy verses because I did have like a spreadsheet of them all out. But then I was like, you know what? That's kind of silly because then I got to bounce back and forth between chapters. I'd rather just go through the whole book as a whole, going from like the first chapters to the last chapters. And as you can see here, we're not starting at chapter 1 because there's no scientific facts up until chapter 5. So as you can see here on my screen, hold on, right here, I have these little markers here. These are just like where the scientific facts are found. And I typically do them in green. I just see science as green. So we're going to be doing that. So I'm going to start off with the first verse here. And I'm just going to keep going. As you can see here, get a little preview. I have a couple here. I'm just going to read the verse, and then we're just going to discuss how it applies with modern science. And if you do have any questions while we're going live, I can answer them. I'll try to answer them at the very end if anybody does show up and has questions. But if there's no questions now and you're watching this in the replay, you can post them in the comment section. And if it's a good comment, I will keep it up and I will answer it. But unfortunately, if you do have any bad comments here, I will be removing them just for peace purposes. So let's just get started with the first verse. So Job chapter 5, verse 10 says, he gives rain on the earth and sends waters on the field. So this seems pretty obvious, right? Okay, rain's going to water fields. But really, rainfall provides natural precipitation, which supplies water to soil. This water is absorbed by soil and becomes available to plant roots. Water is essential for photosynthesis, nutrient transport, and cell structure in plants. Rain also helps replenish groundwater and maintain soil moisture, both critical for crop development. So scientifically, rain is a key component of the hydrological cycle that enables plant growth by delivering moisture directly to agricultural land. So I don't know if you've seen those TikToks or even Instagram reels. I'm not on TikTok anymore. But in those reels, I've seen those videos where it's showing like the root of a plant and then they're like watering it. And then like you see it like growing roots. And I think that's really cool because I know it's just like regular water that they're pouring into the plants, but even just like the rain, right? Like right now, it's not really warm where I am yet to do this, but we like to grow tomatoes in our backyard. And I noticed that like you'll see like the tiny, like even the sprout coming up. And then as it rains more, you'll have like these rainy days. And then all of a sudden, like the next day, you'll see like more tomatoes are growing, and then they might start green, and then they get red. And it's just so cool to see how things grow. And this is really cool how the Bible is picking up on that, how the rain is literally sending water on these fields and growing all these things on there. Either it's plants, vegetables, anything that's really being grown. I think that is just really awesome. And honestly, that's a really cool fact that the Bible even picked that up. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, guys. So the next one here is in chapter 6, verse 5 and 6. And it says, does the wild donkey bray when he has grass, or the ox low over his fodder? Can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt, or is there any taste in the juice of the mallow? So right here, I'm going to scroll down and get the facts here. So a donkey, they bray when they're hungry, lonely, or stressed. If it has grass, its needs are met and there's no braying. And it matches modern animal behavior science. And oxen low, moo, to signal hunger or seek attention. With fodder equals content, no need to content. Sorry, not content. I'm used to making content. Content, no need to vocalize. Consistent with livestock behavior studies. So really here, it's just observing a lot of these animal behavior, but it's very interesting how it knows that like exactly. And you're going to say, well, it's just observing it. Like I can stand there and observe the donkey for a while and write this down. Sure, you could. But even just the idea that it knows that it will bray when it has grass, like its needs are met. So it's, it's fine. It doesn't need to bray when it has its needs met, like if it has grass. It's very interesting how it even knows that. And then it goes down and says, can that which is tasteless be eaten without salt? So here it says down here, and this is some notes that I have, salt enhances flavor. As you know, salt enhances flavor. My father loves salt on his steaks and a lot of things. Calling him out, but we all love salt. And salt here can enhance flavor. Of course, we don't have to have salt on our food. Some food already has salt, but don't you notice, like I was having some matzah yesterday because I was doing the True Christian Ministry communion, and the matzah that I had didn't have any salt on it. But again, I noticed that it was a little more plain versus when I'm having something that's like, let's see, I don't know, like a cracker, a random cracker, like a saltine. When that has salt, it's like, oh, it tastes good. To be honest with you, think salt tastes better, just honestly. But it says here that sodium ions help stimulate taste receptors, especially for bitterness and sweetness. It's a universal flavor booster. So bland food plus no salt, very meh experience confirmed. So it's very interesting how that even comes up, and it already knows that when you were eating food, it isn't really that, tasteless. It's like, it doesn't taste that good. I need some salt on there. Even back then, like, let's salt it up. So pretty interesting. All right, we're going to do the next verse here, again from Job chapter 6. And it says, my brothers are treacherous as a torrent bed, as torrential streams that pass away, which are dark with ice, and where the snow hides itself. When they melt, they disappear. When it is hot, they vanish from their place. So what's actually interesting here, and I'm going to try to see if I can pull this up for you guys in the KJV. So let's pull that up. Okay, so right here in the KJV, I use the New King James Version, but the KJV will have to do for now. So right here, it talks about a brook. So right here, we're seeing torrent bed, but really it just means a brook. So what is a brook? Well, a brook is a small natural stream of fresh water that flows through the landscape, usually shallow and often seasonal. And then when it says like a brook that passes away, seasonal brooks, I cannot pronounce this word, guys, so I'm just gonna skip it. These things only flow during cool/wet seasons. They dry up in heat or drought. Now, true in hydrology, the study of water cycles, and then it says that in the verse where it talks about dark because of the ice, snow vanishes, ice covers the streams. Sorry, I don't know why I just said that. Ice-covered streams look dark due to low light penetration plus shadowing under ice. Snow melts into the brook during thaw, feeding it temporarily. So I don't know if you guys notice this here, but it's talking about basically what happens during this time of the brook, how this brook is kind of like seasonal. There's a time where, it's wet in like cooler seasons, and then it flows during cool, wet seasons, but then it will dry up in a drought. And it's very interesting. So even think about certain areas. I don't know where it was, but I don't know if it was, I can't remember. I think somewhere in Egypt where things were starting to like drought and dry up. And even like think about rain, right? When it rains and like you have a big puddle, like I know some streets around me, like we'll get like a puddle, like if it gets too like, I don't know what to call that, but like where the street's kind of like indented and there's like a little more water in there, even when it gets like drier and there's like hasn't been rain for a while, it will start drying up. And I find that very interesting how like the brook here is doing that. And then of course it talks about ice and snow and things like that. So we didn't talk about verse 17 yet. So in verse 17, it says, when they melt, they disappear. When it's hot, they vanish from their place. So again, obviously, when snow melts, it's going to disappear and it's going to get hot. It's going to vanish because of that evaporation that's happening. It's literally the heat is evaporating. There's no runoff and the stream dries up. So as temperatures rise, snow and ice is gone and the brooks stop flowing. Now it says down here, dry stream beds can disappear, change paths, or fade. To travelers or metaphorical seekers, they're misleading. And it basically said in my notes that matches real world observation of weighty, dry riverbeds. Very interesting there. So we're going to go to the next one. I don't know why it's showing verse 39. That's not what I wanted to do. So we'll just go down here and hopefully another one will come up soon. Sorry, guys. Yeah, here we go. So we'll do a few more here and then we'll just keep going throughout the weeks because I think it'd be fun to have this be a long series. I'm not sure what time it is now. Let me just check, guys. Yeah, we have some time. I don't want to make this too long for you guys. I don't want to be like hours long and be going through this. Just so we're going to go through this one. This is 8:11. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so Job chapter 8, verse 11 through 12 says, can papyrus grow where there is no marsh? Can reeds flourish where there is no water? While yet in flower and not cut down, they wither before any other plant. So when it talks about a papyrus growing without a marsh, papyrus is a wetland plant. It requires marshy, waterlogged soil to grow, typically found in swamps or riverbanks. Without a marsh, it won't survive. So it really needs to be in this wet, marshy kind of area. And then reeds are very similar because reeds here they also thrive in wet environments. They need consistent water for root health and growth. So if there's no water, they're just going to wither out. They're going to die out. Now, again, it says down here, what's ecologically accurate is that even when still green and alive, these plants can quickly dry out if water disappears, like we said before, because it needs to be in that environment where it needs to be in that wet environment. It needs to constantly have that water being around them. And then when that water's gone, it's not going to survive because it needs that kind of environment. So wetland plants are highly water dependent, not drought tolerant. Matches real plant physiology. So what's super cool about this, though, is that it's able to, basically the author of the book of Job is able to really see that. And again, when we talk about observation, a lot of this can be like, well, they're just observing that, which is true. A lot of people are observing these kinds of things, which is very interesting how people can observe that. But how does it know that it's going to not be able to survive outside of this marshy area? Sure, it knows that, the person knows that, yes, you can observe that it's going to be in this marshy area. Like it can only grow where there's a marshy, wet area. But again, how do they know that this plant can't survive when taken out in this environment? Like if I were to take the papyrus plant or the reed plant out and plant it in some dry soil, it would just die out because it needs the water. Sure, you can water it, but it needs that marshy, like wet area. I don't know if you live in an area where there's a lot of marshy areas, but I've been to an area where you can see these things in like this marshy, like wet, like almost like mushy kind of environment. And that's what they need. So if I were to take that plant out, put it somewhere else, it's just going to die out. And we got a verse here down in 14. This is pretty long, so I don't know if I'm going to do fully this whole thing or I'm just going to go through a couple of them. Because again, guys, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So we're going to just maybe do verse 14 and 15 and maybe pick back up at verse 16, 17, 18 at a later date. So right now, what we're going to do is we'll just read verse 14. So his confidence is severed and his trust is a spider's web. He leans against his house, but it does not stand. He lays a hold of it, but it does not endure. So we're just going to talk about the spider's web. I know I read verse 15. I said I was only reading 14. But here it says, spider webs are incredibly delicate. They're structurally impressive. Some are stronger than steel by weight, but practically useless as support for anything substantial. Trusting in a spider's web would be like trusting in something visually impressive but physically unreliable. That checks out scientifically. They don't hold weight, which is really true because honestly, spider webs are fragile under pressure. I have seen spider webs literally, like I'll walk into one. One time I walked into one going into my garage and I was like, whoa. And I literally just like went like this and it was like, it broke pretty easy. Now, yes, it's pretty strong, like how they're able to do that, but it's crazy how, it's able to break that quickly. And the Bible even saying that it's like, you can't trust in a spider's web. Literally, why would you trust in a spider's web? Because literally you just go like this, boom. And the spider's web is just like gone. You can't have that. It's done. It's not going to work. So that's very interesting. And I find that super interesting because the Bible here and what we can learn, even just from this first episode here, is that, yes, a lot of these are observation. I keep bringing that up, but a lot of it too is how do they know that? Like, I find that so interesting. Like, how would they know that the spider's web is really not, it's not that strong and sturdy as, it claims to be or it looks like, because sure, they can walk into a spider's web and write down, yeah, the spider's web right now, I observe that it's not pretty strong when, I walk through it, sure. But all these intricate details that we're getting is crazy. And the fact that they know all this information, to me, is just so insane. And that just really shows me that science and the Bible completely align, because a lot of people that I've seen, unfortunately, like to say the Bible and science can't go together. They're complete opposites. There's no way that they're ever going to, work together. But as we can see here, this is the Bible, and I'm pulling scientific facts directly from it in the book of Job. And it's just so awesome to see that this is even in the Bible. I just really thank God for adding this in there. I feel like there's something you want to show people, honestly. It's like, hey, you think science and the Bible don't agree? Well, read the book of Job. I really, like, if people always ask, like, if people were to ask me, hey, I don't believe science and the Bible agree, I'd say read the book of Job and then talk to me afterwards. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm going to stop it here. My live thing says that I'm going for 17 minutes. I'm going to try to keep these around 15 minutes because I don't want to go too long and I don't want to make these series dragged out for you guys. Again, a lot of you guys are just doing things throughout the day and don't want to watch hours long of footage, which I completely understand. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some of my books here, I'm going to see if I can pop it up on the screen. If you guys want to check out any of the books that I've written that also talk about these verses more in depth, you can go to my Amazon link, which is in my profile. I'll try to put it in the description of this live video afterwards. But if you go there, you'll be able to see all these facts here. Should be, a lot of them are in some of my books in a more greater detail. So if you want these kind of facts in a written book so you can share with others, I highly suggest you check out that book. And if you want to see more science behind the Bible, I do have a podcast called the Science Behind the Bible Podcast, which you can get on all major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. I don't think it's on Pandora, but all these other ones here on YouTube too, YouTube Podcast. So anywhere you pretty much get your podcast, you can check it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. It doesn't seem like many people were in the comments this time. I think it's just the first episode. So if you're watching this on the replay, comment below anything that you want to ask me, if there's anything that you need to ask me in regards to this episode. And I will be going live pretty much every Saturday at this point, as many as I can. Of course, there may be some Saturdays where I can't. But if I get the opportunity, I will try to go noonish. Again, I didn't start exactly at noon this time. I really just feel like spontaneously going around noon is probably the best for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed, again, this episode, and peace be with you.